Hi everyone, it's Vicky. I hope you're all well. So I'm going to show you how I made this Thanks a Latte shaker card. I am not going to lie, this was possibly the most stressed I've ever been making a card. So I'm using the Fawn Thanks a Latte set, not a latte set. And I'm going to stamp my images. I've sped everything up because this ended up being a very long video. This is a collaboration, so as you can see, I'm just using a mask there just to get my placement correct on my Misty. So I'm just going to stamp those out using my favourite things, Extreme Black. There are 4 of us all making different cards using this set just to show you how versatile your stamp sets can actually be. And I will link below to the other videos so you can have a watch of all of those as well. I decided I want to do a shaker because I've got a little bit obsessed with shakers recently. And I also invested in some fun foam to do my shakers because I thought that it would be easier and that my life would be less stressful. And, you know, everyone's all about less stress. However, that did not necessarily go to plan, but you will see as we go on. So it all started off very smoothly anyway. So I stamped my first cup and I wanted 2 cups on this. So I used a mask that I just created using the matching dies for this set. Just to cover over my original image, and then stamped this one. And what will happen is that cup that I'm stamping second will go behind the original cup, so it'll look like the one on the left is slightly in front of the one on the right. I am not, however, going to remove and show you that just yet because I do want to do a background effect, so I'm going to leave this mask in place. And if you do need to know, this is just some hunky-dory masking sheets. They're relatively inexpensive. I do know that Gina K does some that everyone really raves about, but I haven't been able to get my hands on any yet. But these ones do work really well. I'm about to do an ink blending technique on top of this one, and it doesn't go through. So I'm using squeezed lemonade and ground espresso distress oxides from Tim Holtz and Ranger for this. So as you can see, I can just nice and liberally go over where my mask is because I know that my image will be protected. So I'm just using the squeezed lemonade on the inside to give a little glow around the coffee cups. And then what I'm going to do is once I've got enough of the yellow and I'm happy with it, I will bring in the ground espresso from the outside in. Now this is going to be the back of my shaker. So obviously there will be an aperture over it, so you don't see a lot of the ground espresso, but it just adds a bit of shading to the yellow, so it's not too bright in the background, adds a little bit of interest. There is a boo-boo to the right hand side of the cups that you've probably just seen where I didn't tap off my ink before I start blending onto my card and it's made a little bit of a mess, but never mind. This background is literally just under 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Because obviously I know it's going to be going behind my front panel of my shaker, so I wanted to make it slightly smaller so there was less chance of me accidentally not lining it up right. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and to be fair, that part actually works out really well. So bonus. You'll see I am also trying to make sure I do go between the little handle on the cup because I do want some yellow behind there, otherwise it's going to look really annoying to me with the white. And here's the reveal. Ta-da! So you can see there is a teeny tiny little bit of yellow in the cup handle as well, which I love. So I did, however, forget to put in the actual coffee in my cups. And the set does provide a line for that. So I'm going to quickly grab my Misty back out again, just because it's much easier to line up when you use a Misty. And I'm less likely to make a mistake. So I'm going to put the first one in first. This is the front cup, so I need the full semicircle for this. So I'm just going to quickly grab my Extreme Black again, and I'm just going to press that on once, and then I need to put my mask back on because obviously I don't want it to overlap that mug and look very, very weird with a random semicircle going in the middle of it, especially not after I've put all that effort into my blending. So then I'm just going to quickly clean that down, line it up on this mug, and we'll stamp it on there. Ta-da! And there you see I've got both my mugs nicely done now. So I'm just going to put my Misty to the side. I promise I did clean everything off when I next paused the video, but it was just easier to move it out my way for now so I could crack on with my colouring. So I am going to do a red mug and a blue mug. So I'm using the dark red blend from Spectrum Noir Tri Blends. I do bring out my Tri-Blend brush marker just for the light red, because I just want to give it a quick one coat just to saturate that paper. Just because obviously the reds can sometimes not necessarily blend as well as people would like, and I find that if I get my nice base coat of the lighter colour on first, especially when I'm doing such a large area, I find that I end up with a nicer blend overall. So I'm just going to quickly use that one to do that. It's just the brush markers a little bit faster, and my standard red Tri-Blend is starting to get a little bit on the dry side, so I may need to actually invest in a new one. I'll add it to my shopping list. So I'm going to go in with the darker red at either side and then blend that out to the lightest in the middle. Obviously, a cup is cylindrical. Check me out with my big geometry words. It's not even geometry, is it? Or is it? Answers in the comments below if you can remember. I'm sure shapes are geometry, aren't they? Please answer and let me know, because it's going to really bug me now. And then obviously blend it back out to the lightest in the middle. So obviously because they're cylindrical, the lightest bit will be at the front where the light's bouncing off it, and then it'll get darker as it goes further around it. Don't forget to do the back of the cup, because otherwise it's just going to have a really random white inside. And some cups are red on the outside and white on the inside, but it will just look like you forgot, which isn't quite what you want to do. For the other option, I'm going to use the True Blue shades. If you're wondering why I've got a piece of paper down, it's just so I don't get ink all over my hand and then smudge it across my entire page. This is just with the lightest blue that's in the True Blue brush set. It is lighter than the lightest blue I'm going to use. Again, I just wanted to get a bit of a base down just for the colours to blend on top of. So it didn't really matter that much. Obviously I didn't want to use a red or anything, because that would just totally change the colour, but you know what I mean. So again, darkest on the outside, shading to the lightest in the middle. I have also realised that this image is pretty much on its side for everybody. It's just the way it was comfiest for my hand to colour it. I do apologise. I know it would be easier if I could colour everything with it perfectly straight. Unfortunately, not is the answer to that one. I can't really do it, and I didn't want to make a mess of the colouring. I chose the red cup and the blue cup and the yellow background, just because I've been looking at colour wheels and colour theory a little bit, and I know that primary colours always look quite nice together, basically. So I figured, why not? And this is just me testing out my tan pen just to make sure that I was happy with the coffee effect that it would give. It's just one pen from darkest to lightest. I've decided that my light source is shining straight on it, so it will be light in the middle and dark at the edges. And I am just shading that in now, so bear with me as I pull that through. Last bit. So up to here, you'll see that everything has been going relatively well. My inking's gone great, my colouring looks nicely shaded, and it'll look even better once it dries. I then took oval die and cut out a sheet of yellow lawn fawn card and 2 sheets of like foam, basically, because I usually use foam tape and double it over and stick it all down, but I thought this would be easier. It gives me the whole shape. Other people I've seen have used glue and there has been no issue. It might be my impatience, I'm not going to lie, but I've decided that I don't like the glue. So it all goes very well for this point. So the glue is now sat there, and I'm going to put that to the side to dry because I need it too thick, just so it gives me that little bit of extra depth for my sequins to be in there. So I'm just going to put that to the side to dry, and I can trim it down as needs be. And you'll see it goes behind there nicely. So while that's drying, I decided to put my sentiment onto my front panel. So the Misty comes back out again, or my mini Misty rather. And I'm just going to literally use the Thanks a Latte sentiment from the set. I did make some Christmas cards with this over Christmas. If you go back through my videos on my Christmas playlist, you will see my Christmas video that I did with this set that I actually really loved. I was super pleased with that. I'm not even going to pretend that I wasn't. So I'm just going to put thanks in this corner and then a latte in the bottom corner. I decided to do them at a jaunty angle because I wasn't 100% sure that they would go as straight as I wanted them to, and I figured that if they didn't go as straight as I wanted them to, it might cause me some stress. So I decided to put them at a jaunty angle because I thought it would look nice and obviously be a little bit easier to say, yes, it's an intentional jaunty angle. I didn't just mess up. That's a good tip if you're not great at putting sentiments straight. Sometimes putting them at an angle can look really nice. And at least then you know that it's meant to be like that. So you don't end up, if you may, really stressed out about it. I digress. I do apologise. So I'm just going to clean that off as well and pop it back into the packaging because I don't want to lose it. And away goes the Misty again. So next step is to put my acetate on, and for that I am going to use just some Gina K Terrific tape. So I am going to line the back of the yellow piece with the tape. It doesn't have to be right up against the semicircle. Obviously that yellow piece of card is not going to go anywhere near the sequins. The sequins will be trapped between the acetate, which I will be putting on, and the back piece of the card. So they're going to just use my bone folder to make sure that that tape is really firmly down. I don't want to run any risks of anything moving once I'm doing this. I do really like this tape. I find it really quite easy to remove the backing from it. I have had some some tapes in the past that haven't been quite as smooth. I'm going to lay my acetate down very carefully and press that down, and that is that sorted. I will use the bone folder again as well, just to make sure that's really firmly down. This is where things go wrong. You can't hear, but there was a lot of muttered curse words coming out of my mouth for probably about the next 20 minutes worth of video, or it would have been if I hadn't cut it and moved it around. So I decided that you could kind of see the foam tape from behind it. So I thought I'll just give it a bit of a trim with my craft knife. This is when I realised that despite having left it for quite a while, the glue wasn't really as set as I would want it to be. And it was moving around, it was squirting out, and I got really frustrated. I'm not going to lie. Normally I'm relatively cool and calm when I'm crafting. And to be fair, in most situations, I probably would have been quite calm doing this. But I've had a very stressful month, I'm not even going to lie. And I'm running on very little sleep. So, so my patience is running a bit thin. So what I decided to do was totally abandon that, recut them out and stick them together using the Gina K tape. So I've used a lot more of her tape today than I normally would have wanted to, but it did the trick. It wasn't coming apart and I was much happier. On to the next step. We need to put some more tape onto our acetate because we need to now stick our foam down to it. And I've learned that the glue is not the way to do it. So we're sticking with yet more tape. So I'm just going to put that down there. Make sure you've got plenty on because you need to make sure that foam sticks really nicely. Otherwise your sequins are going to go everywhere again. Some of them you will find will get wedged between your foam and your acetate. It happens. Just accept that that's their new happy little home and that they will be very happy there, and it adds a little bit of something. So I'm going to get that lined up and stick that down. You'll see there is a little bit sticking out at the top. I'm not sure how because I did trim it down repeatedly. I have no idea. I know that the foam flattens slightly when it's in the die cut machine, but I trimmed it down before I put it on. Who knows? Anyway, give that a trim with the scissors and you'll never know. It'll be fine. So I'm just going to quickly trim that down. Magic. We'll never know anything went wrong. Next stage is to put yet more tape onto the foam so that I can stick at the back panel and the sequins in. So I was about to go in with my Boss and Buddy and then realised I need to put the tape down first. I would always recommend putting your tape down first and getting that totally ready to go before you put your sequins, because otherwise, as you can see, this does make it jump slightly, and all that would happen is, as you were doing this, if the sequins were already in, they'd be bouncing everywhere. You'd have to be cleaning up constantly. You'd be finding sequins for about the next month, and if your other half is like my other half, they'd probably be wondering why the hell the house looked like it was some kind of party plan in place. So get the tape down first so that it's all nice and sorted, and then just peel away the backs on that. That's me checking for what will probably be not the last, probably about the 20 millionth time that I have definitely covered that. I am just putting some anti-static powder onto the acetate and also rubbing it around where the foam is as well, just to try and reduce the amount of sequins that do stick. I really, really recommend that everyone does this, especially if you have used anything where the tape is exposed at the side or anything like that. If it's got a bit of tack to it, if you put the double-sided on, it'll stop your shaker elements from sticking as easily, which obviously you don't want. You want them to shake around nice and freely. So I'm going to take all that tape off. Here's me trying to remember whether or not I'd actually taken a piece off, because sometimes it's hard to see. And that's it done. So I'm also going to add a little bit of glue at this point, because it's going to be sticking to the paper rather than foam to foam. So I feel like it'll work okay. And as I say, I have got that double-sided tape already there, so that'll make sure it definitely does. The glue will just give it a bit of extra. I may have put slightly too many sequins in. However, I was that frustrated by this point. I really, really wanted it to be pretty. That was me checking for the 100th time that it was the right way up before sticking my base down. The last thing I want to do was get this far and then realise my mugs were upside down. It would not have been good. If it had happened, I could fix it. I did already have an idea in my head. I could have put little bits on top, but it would work. As you can see, my shaker element works fine. So I'm going to take some tape runner and some glue, because I do not want it shifting once it's on my card, and it is obviously quite a heavy topper to put on a card, so you need to make sure it's got that extra stability. So glue and tape, and then I'm going to line that up with just my 4 1/4 by 5.5 card blank. And there we go. And there you have it. One of the prettiest yet most frustrating cards I've ever made. I hope you've enjoyed the video. You can learn from my mistakes. And if you have enjoyed it, please do give it a like. Remember to check out the other guys' videos. The links are below. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye.